After listening to Shashidharan sir and Shankaram sir, I feel like coming to bat after Virat Kohli in the Indian team. So wonderful presentation, so much of wealth of knowledge at our. And on a serious note, I would like to take this opportunity to say that I'm really honored to be standing in front of all of you here. Many faces which have just become very personal here now. Till then, there were names on WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp group, and all thanks to Jacob sir and his team, especially Dr. Bipin. Thank you. So, myself being a triathlete, as ma'am said, I am very deeply invested in all the three sports, swimming, cycling, and running. And the time offered for me to discuss these three aspects is 20 minutes, which I found too short. Then Bibin corrected me and told me that it is strictly for beginners. So I will be just grazing through, skimming through the surface of all these three. And I hope at the end of these 20 minutes, I would have rekindled or instilled some interest in the audience here in any of these three disciplines. So before the order in which we do a triathlon is first we do a swim, then we do a bike, and then we go for a run. So today I will probably start talking about run for many reasons. One of them being, I'm sure, can anybody in the audience who has ever run at least once raise your hands for the purpose of running? Anyone who has biked, cycling cheyidittundo? Yes. So as I expected, the number of people who have run is more than the number of people who have biked. And how many swim? Fewer. So running is a much more popular sport. And even before the Christ, BCE, all the three disciplines of swimming, cycling, and running have been documented. But running is the only sport which is, as a only activity which has been documented as a sport in BCE. The first officially documented marathon, unofficially documented marathon was in BCE. Whereas, can you guess when was the first documented evidence of cycling and swimming as a sport came into being? It was as late as 1870s, 1850s, 60s, and 70s. So to a gathering of doctors, I don't think it is justifiable on my part to talk about the benefits of running, being a cardiovascular aerobic activity, starting from improving cardiovascular fitness, improving your resistance to diabetes, to weight management, reducing the risk of osteoporosis and arthritis, symptoms of arthritis. Why do we all run? People who run, I'm asking you, why do we all run? We don't run for all these things. Probably we get into running. We get into running because of all these. We want to lose weight. We want to, cut short we want to improve our diabetic status or whatever it is. But then we stick on to running. We stick on to a particular sport, aerobic activity, not because of all these things. It is because of that what highlighted in green, that mental well-being. We go back to it because it elevates your mood, it gives you a break from your daily routine, that feel-good factor is there. To anyone who has run, I'm sure will vouch for me that if you haven't run or if you haven't performed an activity, an exercise in that on a particular day, you don't feel good. You in fact feel horrible, right? So I'll just get into how to get into running, just breaking into it. So most of us start running as a matter of getting fit. So the first mistake which people make when they start running is they go all out very fast. I want to start running, I run all out, I run for a few days and then I burn out. So the first thing to do is start slow, really, really slow, pace yourself. Don't compare yourself with any others, especially when you see other people's data being shared and then you want to run, you want to catch up, and then you feel after a couple of months you feel you can't catch up with, your pace is very low, you can't run as fast as someone else, you drop out. So motivate yourself, remain in your own zone, start slow. And a very easy way to do it is progress to brisk walking, then go to jogging. What is the difference between jogging and running? jogging is nothing but a very, very slow-paced run, enjoyable, slow-paced run. Then you may not be able to start running for a very long distance or a very long period all of a sudden. You will probably have to do a run walk first and then progress into running. And as a part of general fitness, whenever you go to a gym, the first thing they make you do is run on the treadmill or walk on the treadmill. So as a part of a general fitness activity, people may take up running. And it's a very good thing actually, because running, when mixed with other things, it provides a great cross training. And basically, when you are running, you meet the same kind of people. But when you're cross training, you meet people from the gym, you meet a different crowd also. So other groups of people to inspire you on your fitness journey. And most importantly, when you mix it with other exercises, I'll talk a little more about it later, it prevents you from getting injured. Now, third thing is actually a joke. As resorting to running as a method to lose your weight is a joke. In 2022, I completed 3 Ironman races. One in Dubai, one in Estonia, and one in Goa. And my weight, I was 75 at the beginning of 2022. By December, I was 85. So weight loss has got nothing to do with this thing. It probably helps you boost your metabolism, and 80% is diet, which probably Jacob sir will talk to you, and 20% is all that this thing is contributing to your aerobic, your activity. Swimming, cycling, or running is going to contribute to your weight loss. Now, the second last point is very important. Whenever you want to start running seriously, you want to continue it passionately, join a club. Because you have a group of people who are running every day, and it may not be the same people. There is always a set of people who are inspired to come out in the morning and call you and get you out to run. And you inspire each other, you motivate each other, and there is an adage which says, together we can go farther than when you can go alone. And so these local running clubs, mostly they'll have these activities, group challenges, which will keep you inspired, which will keep you on your track of fitness. And then finally, this is the era that we live in. We live in an era of races. So basically it is living life from one race to another. Why I say one race to another is, if any of you have ever experienced the finish line feel of a race, the moment that you cross the finish line, that finishing shoot, the acceleration and the jubilation that you get, the crowd and the energy that you get, it remains for a very long time, and then it makes you want to go back to it again. And at the same time, fitness becomes a byproduct. The travel, you register for a race, you travel with friends, you go there, you attend the race, you do perform, and then, all these are memories which last a lifetime. So, now one of the most important things when you start running or continue running is to prevent injury. And one of the most important aspects is what you wear. So, one very common mistake which people make is, I have my shoe, I want to start running. The shoes which I'm using, I start running in them. So they may be walking shoe. They may not be ideally suited for your foot. They may not be ideally suited for running. And you end up in injury. The reason is, when you walk, your heel strikes first. When you walk, it is your heel which strikes first. When you're running, it is the mid part of your foot. It is called the mid-foot strike. The ball of your foot is what should ideally strike when you run or jog. And when you sprint, it is your forefoot. Your front part of your foot is what strikes first. So ideally, this is the reason why you have different shoes for all these 3 different types of activities. For walking, running, sprinting, they're all different. And select comfortable shoes. Now, what do you mean by comfortable shoes? How do you select a shoe which is going to be comfortable for you? All you need to do is go to the store, pick your shoe, walk at least 5 minutes, spend at least 5 minutes walking around the store. They'll let you do that. Or even run if you can in the shoes. If at any point of time you feel uncomfortable, you feel a niggle, you feel your toe is hitting somewhere, don't opt for it, because if you're not going to be comfortable in those 5 minutes, you will never get comfortable when you're doing your long runs, when you're doing a very long, you're going to spend hours in that shoe. So hours in that shoe can seem like a lifetime if you choose the wrong shoe. Now, this slide can make all the difference to your toes when you select your shoe. This is called the rule of the thumb. It's a very simple rule when you're selecting your shoe. All you need to do is, after you have tried on your shoe, there should be at least 1 thumb gap between your toe and the tip of the shoe. If it is too short, what is going to happen is, as you run longer distances, your feet, toes, they're all going to swell, expand, and you're going to have cracked toenails. There are even instances where you have fractured your fingernails, you fractured your toes. And if you have excessive space, your foot is just going to wobble inside the shoe during your run, making you uncomfortable, causing more abrasions and injuries. Now, this is again another thing which you need to know about when you are choosing your shoe for running. So we have different foot arch types and different foot alignments. I don't want to go too much into detail of all this. So basically you have a normal, flat and a high arched foot. And you have overnation, pronation, neutral, supination and over supination. Now all I can say is that blessed are those people who have neutral feet. They can wear just about any shoe and be happy, get away with it. They can even run barefoot. They're less likely to get injured. For me, I have a flat foot, I have overpronation, so I can only, if I wear any other shoe which does not give me stability for my ankle stability or heel stability, I end up with ankle pain. I end up with severe ankle pain and I will not be able to run for another couple of months. So how do you find out what foot type you have? Have you heard of Asics, a shoe brand called Asics? So these outlets, they offer foot analysis free of cost. Now they have static analysis as well as dynamic analysis. They put sensors on your foot and you can either stand on those machines or there is a treadmill on which you can run using the sensors, and an app is going to give you an output which gives you a foot type, and it also gives you the recommendation regarding the shoe. So from over the last 100 years, a lot has changed with respect to running shoes. From being minimalistic to a lot of cushioning, we have come a very long way. Nike has revolutionized running shoes by infusing air into the soles. Skechers has revolutionized it by adding memory foam into shoes. Asics adds gels, and so on. Now we have shoes which have carbon plates of, I'm so sorry. So carbon plates. Now what do these carbon plates do? Carbon plates, they give you a rebound effect. So what happens is, the moment you put your foot down, it is as if the ground is pushing you back, springing you into action, increasing your speed. There are certain races where carbon plated shoes are not allowed, and mind you, carbon plated shoes are not good for the foot overall, so these shoes are usually reserved for races, not for routine day-to-day training, and most of these shoes are exorbitantly expensive. And barefoot, there are a lot of people who run barefoot also, on the beach, on the sand, and even on the road. And there is a brand of shoe called Vibrams, which is minimalistic. There is no padding this thing. So it is just the name which is minimalistic. The cost is exorbitant. It is probably comes up to 15 to 20,000 per pair of shoe. It won't last you for more than 5 to 6 months if you use them well. Now yesterday Jacob sir had posted a video of a dog in fact intimidating sir during his run. So there are many people, in fact, if you ask the number of people who run here, where would you like to run, indoor or outdoor? 99% of the people will prefer outdoors, for obvious reasons. But there is a group of people who do it indoors, and most of these people are doing it as part of their gym activity or they don't, properly IT professionals or doctors who work, my God, 5 minutes. I've spoken for 10, 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. So, other than the fact that, I have to cut short now, really. So, basically, the difference between running and running outdoor and indoor is obvious. It is obvious, but then there are certain very perceptible benefits of running indoors. The weather, dogs, especially for ladies, it is very difficult to run, and not just for ladies, for most of us, if you're running at 4 a.m. in the morning on a deserted street, street lights don't work. So it's quite risky. You sometimes get scared to run alone. So treadmills offer a very beautiful solution for that, and treadmills are generally considered to be softer on the foot, on the knee, and this is a very, especially if you are practicing for a race or something, you want to improve your speed. Treadmills offer you a very consistent, you can set your pace and run. You don't have to worry about what speed you are going to run, etc. So, there are 8 different types of run. I'll take you through them very fast. Okay, these are the different types. See, it doesn't work if you keep running at the same pace, your same route every day, day in and day out. You have to change the way, alter the way you run every other day, so that your interest is maintained, your speed improves. Only when you get improvement in what you do, you will remain motivated to remain in that activity. So the first type of run is called the easy run. Now there is something called an 80-20 rule. 80% of your runs have to be easy. As opposed to conventional thought that you have to run fast, 80% of all your runs has to be essentially slow, very slow. Now, you should understand when you're, in these terms, you should understand what is RPE. RPE is called the rate of perceived exertion. It is your own scale, which means that you're able to hold a conversation comfortably. RPE of 1 to 2 means you're able to hold a conversation comfortably. RPE 10 means you can't speak, you're gasping for breath. So that is RPE 10. So easy run means you can chat as you're running, you can chat with the person running next to you comfortably. Now this 80% of this run is going to build your aerobic fitness, your endurance. It is going to prevent burnout, injury, and there is an adage which says that running slow 80% of the times is actually going to help you run faster during your races. Now long run is the second kind of run, which we will do once a week. Now once a week, long is a very relative term. You need to see how much you run in a week. What is your total run volume, and 50% of that is what is called your long run. Now this is to be done at a really easy pace. You can simulate your race conditions, and this is where you practice your hydration, how, at what time you're going to get thirsty, when are you going to feel hungry, when should you take something. Now when you go for your long runs, it is always better to carry a bottle of water. Now remember, after 45 minutes to 1 hour, water is not going to cut it. You're losing out a lot of sweat. You need to get in more salt. So you have these very convenient salt capsules and electrolyte tablets available. You can alternately take lime juice with salt in it. So these are all things you need to keep in mind in order to avoid cramps and getting flustered out during your long runs. After running a particular distance, you might feel flustered that you can't go any further. That's called hitting the wall. So that is because you are lost out on a lot of sodium in your sweat and you have not replenished it. Strides is with every other alternate easy run, 15 to 20 seconds you run fast and stop. That's it. 15 to 20 seconds you give a sprint and stop. You can repeat it 4 to 6 times. So just to strengthen your leg muscles, just to strengthen those leg muscles, and this should not overly tax your lungs and the heart. Now this is the kind of run, intervals and hill reps, which is going to build your running endurance. Your strength of running will depend on whether you do these at least once a week. Now, this is running as fast as possible for a short time. You can start with 30 seconds, 60 or 90 seconds, and after running 90 or 60 seconds at a stretch, fast, you give a 2 to 3 minute break of recovery between each effort. Now, when this is performed on a hill, this is called hill reps. You go up and then you come down the hill. And one session per week is what is recommended. Next is again called a tempo or the threshold run. This is the fastest pace you can maintain in a particular time. Let's say half an hour. In this 30 minutes, you run as fast as you can, but you should be barely able to gasp an odd sentence out. RPE will be somewhere between 6 to 7. And this again increases your speed and speed endurance and your race pace. Now this you can alternate between your intervals and intervals or hill reps. Now progressive runs are also called negative splits. Start slow and then gradually increase your speed till you finish at your hardest possible sustainable effort. Now, incorporating a progressive run into your running schedule will actually help you finish a race faster. So what happens at the end of the race is you are totally tired and all that. So if you have practiced a running progressively faster, at the end of the race, you can actually run hard and finish the race fast. Fartlek is just running as you feel like. Tap into your inner child. Run fast, slow, all the types of runs mixed in one particular session. And then finally, remember that recovery is key to any activity. So basically, recovery run is after a very long run or a hard workout, you do a very easy run, walk, or a total rest is also fine, because training too hard and too often without allowing proper recovery is a sure shot recipe for injury. Always complement running with pre-run stretches. Now, pre-run stretches need not be very hard, just to move your joints and the muscles, just to get them warm. And most importantly, the most important reason why people quit running is they say knee pain. They run a while and then knee pain hits and then they stop running completely. All you need to do is step back a little, start strength training. It is probably your lack of strength training because of which your joints and tendons have been stressed. So post-run stretches are important. Post-run stretches should essentially be for at least 10 to 15 minutes, foam rolling, self or sports massage once a month or something. Now, properly fueling your runs, starting from your pre-run breakfast, your pre-run food, to post-run proper nutrition and hydration and sleep, all these are what is going to help you sustain your running schedule. Else, you are going to fall back on it. So, I'll just get into it quick. Now, cycling, again, I don't want to talk about the benefits of cycling, but on a much more less scientific note, it gives you a lot more view. You cover a lot more ground than you do running. This is what I experience. You know, the feeling of liberation is what you experience. If you are a person who has been running like me and then progressed into cycling, you know, in running you cover a smaller, shorter ground, but with cycling you end up going a longer distance. You can see much more sights and it becomes much more interesting. So, my first ride, I purchased my first bike in 2019 and I was so excited. I took it off. Morning 4 a.m. I took off my bike and went. I went at least 20 kilometers and then I got a flat tire. I got a flat tire and I didn't have money with me. I was not prepared. I didn't know how to remove this thing. I didn't know how to repair a puncture. So I would suggest to all people who are cycling and who are going to start cycling to first learn some basic maintenance, puncture repair, because and then I had to wait for 1.5 hours to wait for an auto. I put this expensive bike on this auto and I had to tow it all back. Know your safety rules. See, we have lost quite a lot of people, bikers, to accidents. We have had so many people who have been injured and yet struggling to get back into normalcy after many years. And even recently, around 3 weeks back, there was an incident in Chertala. One boy who was on the cycle. It was unheard of on an unmanned railway cross. He was just crossing the line and then he was hit by a train. So there have been a lot of design changes from over the last 100 years, and three of the most significant changes have been in the design. speed has been one thing very importantly, which has been, man has been focused on speed. And the aerodynamics of the bike has changed. The make, from steel, aluminum, and now it's been all carbon frames have been there to reduce the weight of the bike. And then you've seen these derailleurs. The front and the number of gears have increased over time, making it easier and faster. So I'll just skip this. It's mostly general knowledge. Now, I just want to lay stress on this. One of the most important, one of the most common problem which bikers face is back pain. So it's very important that when you are getting into cycling, to strengthen your core in order to avoid slouching. The moment you have a weak core, what is going to happen is there's going to be a lot of pressure on your shoulder, arms, and your back. So different types of bike, again, our common bikes which we have is the commuter bike, the mountain bike, road bike. So just a couple of things for those who are getting started. When you have a bike with a gear, do not pedal on it with a high gear for a very long time, which is going to create a lot of stress on your knees. So always make sure that your cadence, which is your RPM, the number of times you rotate the pedal, is high. Between 70 to 90 RPM should be your ideal cadence to have when you are cycling. Again, always complement with strength training. Now again, similar to what we have for the treadmill, we have something called the trainer, on which for the last 3 years I have never taken my bike out unless for a race. It's always been indoors. Now with the apps like Roovy and Swift, you can simulate any terrain within the confines of your room, and you can load your own bike onto this trainer and do any training, any sort of trainings, fast, slow, anything, without the risk of getting injured in the traffic. And mind you, this is not the indoor bike which you get in the gymnasium. This is a trainer. It starts from 10,000 to lakhs of rupees worth trainers are available in the market. Your own cycle, you can load it onto the trainer and ride, connected via Bluetooth to an app. So again, swimming, I cannot talk to you much about swimming without you actually getting into the pool. So just the fact that it is a zero impact sport and it's a life-saving skill. The first and the foremost thing you need to get comfortable in the water. See, basically there are 4 steps when you learn swimming, and you can do it in 2 or 3 days max. The first is floating. Okay, first is floating. Now, during floating, you have to learn to exhale underwater. And the second is your legation. We call it the legation. You have to start working on your legs. And the third is moving your arms, crawling in the water. And finally, you learn to breathe. Now, breathing is the hardest of the 3. The first 3 you learn within a day. Children learn it even in the same session. And anybody can learn it in 2 to 3 days' time if you don't know swimming. So breathing techniques is something which you master over time. Can anyone tell me what this man is doing in the water? Anybody? It's called sculling or treading water. Now this is again a life skill which you should learn, because you can actually remain stationary in any point in the water, open water as well as in the pool, any depth, if you learn sculling. Strokes. Now the real life skill is in open water swimming, where you swim in the lakes, rivers, oceans. It is very different from what you swim in the pool. You have to overcome the fear, the panic or the fear of the water, fear of expanse and the vast expanse of water. You have these currents. You've heard of rip currents. Rip currents are those currents which prevent you from getting onto the shore. Once you've gone out into the sea, getting back in becomes difficult. So never venture out alone into the open water unless you have someone who is a stronger swimmer than you, or you have a lifeguard watching you while you're swimming. And there are things like the toe float which you can tie and attach onto your hip. It swims along with you. Whenever you are tired, you can hold on to the toe float. So I'm sorry for having to rush through the last few slides. So again, this fitness is never a destination, it is always a journey, because once you reach a destination, you are no longer interested or remain motivated in what you're doing. So my sincere wish to all of you is that it remains for all of you. Let this breed grow, let this tribe grow, and let it remain a journey, a never-ending journey, and may you all remain happy and healthy. Thank you again for this opportunity.